Supervisor Goran. Hi, good evening, everyone, and welcome to the Springs Municipal Advisory Council meeting for April 6th, 2022. And we are starting the meeting at 6:31. Thank you all for being here. We always appreciate our audience for being here, and the MAC members and Supervisor Goran, thank you. And Jordy, thank you for being here. And to the county staff for always supporting this work, Lynn Marie and Arielle and Karina. If it appears that this meeting has been hacked at any time, we will end the transmission. Karina, you want to announce Spanish interpretation?
Muy buenas tardes. Esta reunión cuenta con interpretación al español. Para acceder al canal de español, vaya a la parte baja a la izquierda de su pantalla, donde vea el icono de interpretación o interpretation, un icono global. Presione clic y seleccione español, automáticamente estará escuchando en español. Gracias a Jordi, nuestro intérprete. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. So this meeting is being recorded and can be viewed later on multiple platforms. It's on the Springs MAC page, it's on Supervisor Goran's YouTube channel, her Facebook page, and it's also on KSVY. And thank you to KSVY for always being here and recording our meetings. Chair Willette or Vice Chair Willette is not here, so I will be doing roll call. So Hannah Perrott.
Here.
Iris Lombard.
Here.
Jesus Alcaraz.
Here.
Me, Maite. Mari Carmen. Mari Carmen is absent. Thank you. I do have an announcement on the agenda. The skate park folks are not able to be here today, so we are pulling that agenda item number 10. We hope to have them come soon. We really want to hear what they're doing. The skate park looks great, so big shout out to them. So hopefully we'll have them here soon. We'll move on to the approval of the minutes.
I may, Chair Terry, we do need to mention that we will take public comment on item 11, the Sonoma Skate Park item that you just pulled. It's item
I thought
11.
it was 10.
No, it's item 11.
Permits. So on my thing, it says item 10 is skate park and item 11 is permit Sonoma.
I apologize for the order, but yes, Sonoma Skate Park item is pulled from the agenda, but we will take public comment if anyone in the public is here specifically for that item. And I apologize for the error.
No, thank you for the clarification. I appreciate it. I just want to be sure I'm like, oh, I said the wrong number. Okay, so we'll go with approval of the minutes. Are there any changes or amendments to the minutes from the March 2nd meeting? Do I hear a motion to approve the minutes?
I move to approve.
Iris, is there a second?
I'll second.
Hannah, second. All in favor?
Aye.
All in favor. Thank you. So this is time for public comment. And we will get, I will make a statement about public comment later, but we will give 3 minutes for public comment today. Is there any public comment on items not on the agenda?
Any members of the public who wish to make a comment, please use the raise hand feature or dial *9. If you called in, you will be promoted to make your comment and you will have 3 minutes. Para los miembros de la comunidad que desean hacer un comentario público en este momento para los artículos que no están en la agenda del día de hoy, por favor de utilizar la aplicación de levantar mano en su computadora u oprimir estrella 9 si llamó desde su teléfono. Se le otorgará el permiso para hacer su comentario. I don't see any raised hands, Chair Terry.
Okie doke. Great. Thank you. So we'll move on to community announcements. Karina, I think you have a couple, and I think Hannah has a couple too as well.
Members of the public who wish to make a community event announcement, same procedure, please use the raise hand feature or dial *9. Miembros de la comunidad que desean hacer un evento comunitario, un anuncio de evento comunitario, por favor de utilizar estrella 9 o aplicación para levantar mano. I do see one raised hand.
Great.
In the order I see them, Dana and then Gary.
All right.
Dana, go
Dana.
ahead.
Hi, everyone. I do have a couple of announcements on behalf of the Senderos program that Sonoma Ecology Center, specifically Sugarloaf State Park runs. They'll be doing some wildflower hikes the 9th and the 23rd of April from 10 a.m. to 12 p.m. Is here at the Van Hoosier Wildflower Preserve, which is off of Grove Street. And Sunday, April 10th, there is a 9 a.m. to 12 p.m. wildflower hike at Sugarloaf itself. We ask that folks register for those online. You can visit either the Facebook page for Sonoma Ecology Center or Sugarloaf Ridge State Park, or the website. The link is there to register. And these are both free events, so please come join us. And the Senderos program, just a reminder, is the Spanish language naturalist program out at the park.
Thank you, Dana. Nice to see you, hear you.
Likewise.
Thank you, Dana. Gary, go ahead.
Yeah, Gary with Sonoma Volunteer Firefighters Association. A couple events coming up. April 16th out at Dunbar School in Glen Ellen. We have an Easter egg hunt. It's free to anybody. Starts at 10 o'clock. And then April 24th from 11 to 2 o'clock at the Sonoma Valley Fire Station 1 at 630 2nd Street West is our open house that we moved from October to April this year. So April 24th from 11 to 2.
Thank you, Gary. Thank you for your service too. Okay.
So if I may, Chair Terry, I have a couple.
You do. Okay, go ahead.
Yes.
Sorry about that.
That's okay. Quiero invitar a la comunidad a participar en la próxima charla comunitaria el próximo jueves 14 de abril de 6 a 7 a través de la página de Facebook Charla Comunitaria Sonoma. Estaremos hablando sobre maneras de conservar energía, conservar agua, cómo hacer composta y cómo utilizar composta, también cómo reducir su factura de utilidades de agua, basura y energía. Tendremos representantes de PG&E con nosotros y Zero Waste Sonoma, así que no olviden, charla comunitaria 14 de abril de 6 a 7 en la página de Facebook, Charla Comunitaria Sonoma, y gracias a la supervisora Gorin por patrocinar la charla. So a quick reminder, our next charla comunitaria is taking place April 14th, 6 to 7 via Facebook, Charla Comunitaria Sonoma. Thank you, Supervisor Goran, for sponsoring Charla Comunitaria. We will be discussing ways to conserve energy and water and how to reduce your energy and utility bills. PG&E reps and Zero Waste Sonoma will be present. So thank you. Also, an alerts and warning test coming up in the Valley, April 30th at noon. Stay tuned for more details through our office. También una alerta, un evento de alertas se llevará a cabo el 30 de abril a mediodía. Esté pendiente para más actualizaciones de parte de nuestra oficina. Gracias. Thank you.
Hannah, did you have an announcement?
Yeah, we're going to do another compost giveaway at Larson Park on the 16th of April, which is a Saturday. It's going to be from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. And bring, a container to take the compost away with you. I think we're going to be doing plant starts again with Seth from the Springs Hall in the Larson Garden Park. So please come on down. It should be another good event. We're also going to be doing a creek cleanup. So just 10 to 2, April 16th, please come. It'll be fun. Larson Park.
Thank you so much for that, Hannah, and all the work you did. The pictures were great. I want to remind people that Ballet Folklorico Quetzalén and community organizations will be at Hannah on, I think it's April 30th for Dia de los Niños. The MAC is sponsoring it along with other community organizations. So just a reminder that we'll have music and cultural events along with local organizations will be present. So we hope that you join us. Okay. Any other community events from the council?
Chair Terry, if I may, I do want to acknowledge I neglected to disable the chat. So there are a couple of messages in here. So I want to acknowledge them and let our community know that we typically do not accept chat comments, but I will read it off in case the individual who wrote their comment wants to elaborate. There's a question from Marisol Angeles to the county, question to the county. Why are some employers not accepting home COVID tests? It is difficult to test when it's offered if the employers are not accepting. And also Dana provided an email, senderos, SENDEROS @sonomaecologycenter.org. Sugarloaf number 707-833-5712.
Maybe we could take that item, that question, and put it on future items. And maybe we can have somebody come and talk about that and the differences between the testing. So that would be my suggestion for that item.
Okay.
Thank you.
And thank you, Maite, for that, because I don't really have an answer. So I would just ask Karina, or I would refer that question to the health services. So it's a good discussion, and I've heard it raised before, and I don't have the answer. I'm so sorry.
Yeah.
And I'm going to respond in Spanish just so our community members are aware. Marisol Ángeles, gracias por su pregunta. Le queríamos avisar que generalmente no tomamos preguntas en el chat en esta reunión. Usualmente son preguntas en vivo, pero leí su pregunta aquí al consejo y la respuesta de la supervisora y la presidenta de este consejo es de que yo dé seguimiento con usted. Entonces, si es posible que usted me contacte a la oficina, mi número de teléfono es 707-565-1776. Muchas gracias. I just provided my office number for Marisol to contact me.
Thank you, Karina. Okay, we'll move on to chair update if there are no other announcements for events. Okay, so the annual report is due. Submit any progress that your ad hocs have made to me. I will hopefully have it together by May 4th for all of you to review. We will submit May 15th for a June 1st approval. Also, hi, Mari Carmen, welcome. I want to mention public comment. So we received some feedback about our public comment times, and that they change, they fluctuate, and they do based on the agenda. And there was concern that we weren't giving people enough time. And there are reasons for that. Sometimes our agenda is very lengthy, and I've tried different strategies along with Karina to try to move things along. We ask for presentations up front. We ask for council members to come prepared with questions, but these strategies are not always successful. So I do change public comment time. I'm going to work hard to keep it at 3 minutes. If the agenda is really lengthy, I will shorten public comment. I'll be as fair as I possibly can, but there are reasons that it's shorter and longer at times. So we will try to stick to 3 minutes, but again, it depends on the agenda items too and how much time we have. So, and I can adjust it for each agenda item as well. So it'll be a balance to make sure. If your voice is not heard, we are here to hear your voice. So you can always send us an email and we read the emails. So please know that is always another option for you as well. So I just want to clarify that and thank the folks for their public comment and their concerns about, or their comments and their concerns about the time on public comment. There were some reasons behind it. So thank you for that. Community voice. So I'm going to read our mission statement. The Springs Municipal Advisory Council represents the people of the Springs and Sonoma Valley as a voice of the community to elected representatives. The Springs Municipal Advisory Council is committed to engage with all community members in meaningful and inclusive ways to promote the health and well-being of the Springs. So at our last meeting, there was a request for a community voice standing item, and we're going to keep that on the agenda, and it's towards the end of the agenda where topics can come up that people have concerns about or questions about. We may not be able to answer them in the moment, know that, but we will either take them into consideration for future items or work to find the answers. But community voice is a big part of what we do, and we feel that we hold the space for that, and want to make sure that we're offering those opportunities for people. So, Caltrans letter. So the response was very positive about the Caltrans letter. We sent it, and thank you, Supervisor Goran, for your ongoing support of trying to make our roads safe in the Springs. I know that the roads are very, very important to you, and we appreciate your support. So our Caltrans letter is getting some response, and Supervisor Goran is continuing to meet with Caltrans and TPW. So hopefully we'll be starting to see some progress. So thank you. My last chair item is we have a spelling bee winner, a local spelling bee winner. Her name is Evelyn Quintero. She represented Sasserini School. She's in the 5th grade. And she won for the county, and she's going to represent us at the state level. And she happens to be related to our amazing Karina. So big round of applause and congratulations to Evelyn for representing us. I've been in this here for 25 years, and I don't know that I remember the last time we had a first place winner that represented us at the state. So congratulations. Okay. That is, and if I'm wrong on that, please correct me, but I believe that's the case. Supervisor Goran, do you have anything you'd like to share with us?
Well, let me see. I think I'm unmuted. Thanks for the opportunity to comment. And I really, once again, want to thank all of you for your time spent working on behalf of the community. Thank you, Hannah, also for your work on the compost giveaway. It's so important for the county. We need to give away all of that compost and a whole lot more. In fact, I still have a pile of compost that I'm spreading around my yard in anticipation of the hot weather that we are about to have. And I did meet with a number of community members at exactly Larson Park, really concerned about the status of the tennis courts, pickleball courts, soccer fields, baseball fields, community gardens. And as you know, maybe some of you participated in the community meeting, planning an updated master plan for both Larson Park and Maxwell Farms. The folks who, and in fact, one of the members there or present there was working with Flowery Elementary School, teaching those students how to play pickleball. I thought it was for old white dudes, but apparently not. We're getting the youth involved, absolutely. So we decided we were going to do a letter writing campaign to the board for improvements for both Maxwell Farms Regional Park and Larson Regional Park. And some of them are involved in the U.S. Tennis Association, Pickleball Association, Soccer Association. And it's very frustrating for me to understand how our grant requests keep getting shuffled aside. Well, although we have many, many people who are struggling to afford rent and groceries, the median income of some of the census tracts is actually a little higher than they normally give to. And so they say, oh, your income is too high and we're looking for more disadvantaged communities. I said, really? So we're continuing to explore grant requests. Karina, Hannah, Arielle have been busy preparing a board budget request for a couple of different things. One is for improvements at those two regional parks, bike lanes. Also, Karina has been busy preparing a board budget request for the lighted crosswalks. They're not actually called lighted crosswalks, but thank you, Hannah, for working so diligently on that. That was part of the discussion that we've had with Caltrans and TPW. So we did, and I'll let Karina tell you about the budget request that she is turning in like any minute now. And also a number of community groups are really working on feverishly on ARPA fund requests, including, I understand, the Mental Health Collaborative organized by Leslie Peterson of the Hannah Institute, I believe Marty Carmen and of the Health Center, LaLue Center, Boys and Girls Club, and a number of organizations are part of the collaborative. And I'm just issuing a big yahoo because our nonprofits haven't really effectively worked together previously. I think the lessons that we learned during the pandemic is moving us forward and introducing each other to the greater impact that we can achieve by working collaboratively. So we know that that our community is really struggling with mental health issues. And I'm going to let Mary Carmen, who raised her hand, talk about that.
No, I just wanted to actually say that it's Leslie Nicholson from Risk together with Hannah. So there's two Leslies.
There are, and I think
yes,
both of them.
So it's from Risk Sonoma together with Hannah. They're the ones who did the mental health together. And at some point in time, I would like to do a moment of silence. I don't know if that's possible for 2 suicides that happened in our county this week. One being someone from Sonoma.
Yeah, let me just finish my report, and then absolutely I would love to participate in the moment of silence, because I know how painful that has been for your family or any family to experience suicides, either successfully, tragically, or attempts. And I think we know that so many people are really struggling during the pandemic, but our students especially, our youth especially. I think that is just about all that I need to talk about, other than we did talk. You think you have technical difficulties. Well, the Board of Supervisors employs whole departments of systems folks, and we could not broadcast yesterday. We could not get our system up and running. So even though we were in the board chambers, we all scurried back home and had a virtual board meeting yesterday. So it was rather amusing to know that we have many talented people, but our systems still were not cooperating. But one of the items that we did have a COVID update, and that is the good news, that our case rate has dropped significantly. And you know that we're countywide beginning to offer booster shots, as well as continuing to offer vaccinations. There's still some folks trying to get vaccinated. I would love if Mari Carmen would comment, if she can, on the effectiveness of the second booster shot, because I'm getting mixed messages about that. So it might be good to talk about and think about. But we also had an informational update on vacation rentals. That issue seems like perpetually is moving through the county and the board. It is before our planning commission. Caitlin Cornwall of the Sonoma Ecology Center is our planning commissioner, listening in and trying to wade through the specifics of some mechanisms, especially for enforcement and vacation rentals. And we're also looking at caps. Is it a cap countywide? Is it a cap by area? Because we continue to struggle, and we get almost weekly complaints from neighbors of vacation rentals. And we know that we have a real stressor from vacation rentals on our housing stock. So I think that is what we discussed. Well, a lot of things we discussed yesterday, but those were the highlights. And again, thank you for all that you're doing. And it is my pleasure to work with you on roads, traffic safety, Sonoma Developmental Center, and so many other issues. So I'm going to turn it back over to Karina and the chair, who might recognize Mark Harmon's request. You're muted.
Thank you. I was wondering if we could close the meeting with a moment of silence. How does that sound? Would that be okay, Mari Carmen? Thank you. And then I'm wondering, Mari Carmen, maybe we can put you on the agenda in the future, along with COVID testing and vaccination, and maybe have that be a topic to come. We haven't had a COVID discussion in a long time. Maybe we're due for one. So
Yeah, maybe we can invite somebody from the clinical, because I'm non-clinical, so I couldn't really speak to that.
maybe you can help us figure out who that should be. Thank you.
Or someone from the county health services as well, because that was the question I asked. How are we working with local groups to offer the boosters and vaccinations? Once again, here we go.
Thank you, Supervisor Goran, for your update. It's lovely to see you. Okay, so we have some action items we need to address. We need a vice chair. So I'm opening for nominations for a vice chair. Are there any?
Maite,
Yes, Iris.
I would like to nominate Hannah Pruitt.
All righty. Is there a second for Hannah?
I second that, Mari Carmen.
Mari Carmen seconds Hannah's nomination. Okay. All right. Seeing no others, all in favor?
Aye.
All right, Hannah, welcome aboard.
You're it.
Thanks, guys, gals.
Okay. All right, so the next one is a meeting schedule change. Surprise. So when we scheduled this meeting on the first Wednesday, we were the only ones. And then the city council moved their meeting to the first Wednesday. So now people who go to both can't. So, and then I think this SVCAC is the last Wednesday.
The fourth Wednesday.
The fourth Wednesday. So we are suggesting the second Wednesday as an option. And wondering what thoughts are on that. Now, that change would take place on, it looks like the 11th of May.
Works for me.
Jesus, what about you? I know you're going to school and you have some other commitments. Would that be acceptable to you?
Yeah, I think so. It works.
Okay. And Mari, did you say yes to that? I think I saw you nod your head.
Sorry, Wednesday,
The second
I'm running a little bit behind because we just extended our vaccine clinic hours today till 8. So, but I will try to make, sorry.
Okay. Lynn Marie, is that okay for you as a note taker? And I'm not sure about Jordy and all our support staff.
Yes, it's fine with me.
Okay. All right. So, and Jordy's nodding yes. All right. So can we, and is Supervisor Goran agreeable to the switch to the second Wednesday?
And yes, I think that's fine as long as Karina can continue to staff on the second Wednesday. And thank you for your patience. Sometimes I can participate and sometimes I'm double booked or triple booked. So I will be here when I can.
Well, we understand that. Thank you. Okay, so if I can get a motion, it sounds like, can I get a motion to move our meeting to the second Wednesday of the month?
Motion to approve.
Jesus, is there a second?
Hi, Mari Carmen.
Mari Carmen, second. All in favor?
Aye.
Hi.
Aye. Seeing no objections, the motion passes. We will move to the second Wednesday of the month. Thank you all. Okay. We have been writing a lot of letters and our letters are actually amazing. You guys who are writing are doing great jobs and they're getting attention. So we felt it was time to adopt a policy around our letter writing. So I'm wondering, Karina, do you want to show the policy? I mean, we represent the Springs and it's important that we are listening to the voices of the Springs, and then we are able to interpret that and put it into writing and send it off to the appropriate folks. So this is a draft. And I'll go ahead and read bullet by bullet. We can make changes. And hopefully we can adopt this for our letter writing in the future. The Springs Municipal Advisory Council identifies a team of 1 to no more than 3 council members to work on a letter about a community issue, concern, or opportunity to be sent on the behalf of the whole MAC. Letters may be written in support of current or pending efforts by county agencies and community organizations. So it's not an ad hoc, it's as needed. It can be 1 person, it can be up to 3, and the letter, whoever's doing the writing is writing on behalf of the entire group. The team notifies county staff 5 business or 2 weeks in advance of the next MAC meeting, so the letter can be placed on the agenda. The letter is submitted before the next MAC meeting and distributed with the agenda 72 hours prior to the meeting for review by the council members. The supervisor's office assists in identifying recipients and stakeholders at various agencies. So we will try, we've done the CCs in the moment. We're going to try to identify those up front and then add them in if there are others that we have missed. At the monthly meeting, council members will review the draft and recommend edits and changes. County staff will edit for minor grammatical, making changes supported by the council straw vote to be upheld. So it'll get cleaned up because sometimes it's not, it needs a little editing. Nothing, no content changes, but commas and that sort of stuff. Letters will be addressed to the appropriate recipient, Susan Gorin, and or the County Board of Supervisors and CC agencies and elected officials, Caltrans, Public Works. So we will send to whoever the recipient is, make sure that Supervisor Goran and the board also receives a copy, or sometimes it may be addressed to them. Council invites public comment and considers further edits during the procedure, and council votes to support the letter. If approved, the letter is signed by the MAC chair and sent to the recipients of the Springs MAC, letter writing team, or Supervisor Goran's office as appropriate. So here are some qualifiers for the letter themselves. 1 page, ideal, no more than 2. Should state the issue and our role as a community voice, distill what we know about the community's opinion. If we can provide some data, that would be amazing. Whatever our question or recommendation is, an inclusion of the supporting materials, maybe public comments or certain results of a survey. I think, Hannah, you included results of a survey for one of our letters. And letters will be translated into Spanish for access to the Spanish community member. And this is the letter writing policy in Spanish. So I'm wondering if there are comments or suggestions on the letter, on the policy.
Maite, thank you so much for presenting this. I do not have a copy of the bylaws in front of me, but I know that there is a provision in the bylaws that speaks to the MAC's ability to lobby, advocate, write letters. And I'm wondering if Karina might have a copy of the bylaws. I vaguely remember a provision talking about writing with support of the supervisor or to the supervisor through the supervisor's office, so that you and I are working in tandem and not at odds with each other. But I don't have a copy of the bylaws in front of me. And so maybe Karina, you can go ahead and just have this discussion, but it may have to be tweaked a little bit so that it conforms with the bylaws.
Thank you, Supervisor Goran. I believe that was already taken into consideration, and this is basically the same letter writing policy that the North Sonoma Valley MAC adopted. We're basically removing their name, adding the Springs MAC name with the addition of translating the letter for Spanish access. So it's my understanding that it does not violate the bylaws and the letter writing.
Okay, thanks, Karina. And it's great that it is duplicated as per the North Sonoma Valley MAC. And because I'm not always at one meeting or another, I'm not sure actually what how they approve that. So I have all of those materials in the real office, not the virtual office. And I'm sure I can find it online. So I will review that. I'm sure it's fine, but just a note of sensitivity. Even though you want to be activist and just write letters to the world, let's stay together so that we can work together on the kind of projects and improvements that you want to see.
Thank you for that. Yes, we do. We do want to work together. Absolutely. Iris, do you have a question or a comment?
No, a comment. I actually have the bylaws on paper, and I made a quick scan and I don't see that there's any letter writing
I think it does talk about
information.
advocacy on the part of the MAC, maybe. And again, it was just
No,
so
well,
long ago. I'll review them, and if
nothing
there's
I can
a problem,
find.
I'll get back to you. But I think, and I listened carefully as you read through the bullet points, I think it's fine, but just make sure that Karina and I are in the loop as to how you're moving forward.
Great. So they probably have to make sure that because the North Valley MAC too will need to be reviewed to make sure that they're in
Exactly.
compliance as well. So we will, if there aren't any changes, we can get a motion, and then if we have to make adjustments, maybe we can, you can let us know
Right.
about it if we need to make changes. Are
Perfect.
there any comments or edits or any suggestions to the letter writing? Okay, can I get a motion to approve?
I'll make a
I
motion to
motion to-
approve. Oh,
Hannah, I'll go second.
great.
Thank you.
Hannah and then Iris. Okay, all in favor? Okay, and so Supervisor Goran and Karina will let us know if we need to make any changes, but that will be our letter writing policy moving forward. Great. Okay, our next item is to endorse the Springs Fire Safe Council funding request letter of support. Hannah, would you like to introduce this item?
Yeah. So this is, I'm on the Fire Safe Ad Hoc, and we've made a lot of progress lately with the Springs Fire Safe Council. Tonight, we have Lucas here, who is a board member of our newly formed Fire Safe Council. And he's an excellent board member because he works professionally with Fire Safe Councils. So he's a really big credit to our group. And we've been working with Roberta and her team at Fire Safe Sonoma. And one thing that Lucas has taught me is that as a Fire Safe Council, we will be very unique because of our size. Fire Safe Councils are normally a couple hundred parcels, and we're going to be like 3,000. So because of the unique nature, we're essentially a small city without the legal status of a city. So in light of, the Fire Safe Sonoma is doing something called a CWPP, which is giving us money to assess our area for dangers, but we are asking for additional money because we're so unique. So I'll let Lucas present the letter with the details.
Thank you, Hannah.
Excellent. Thank you, Hannah. Hello, Maite and Supervisor Goran and everybody. Hannah did a great job kind of giving the lay of the land. So we have confirmed fiscal sponsorship by Fire Safe Sonoma, a 501c3 nonprofit that will hold the Springs Fire Safe Council fiscally, meaning we'll run grants through them. The county awarded Fire Safe Sonoma a pot of money to support 4 Fire Safe Councils in the county. to do community wildfire protection plans and all the kind of community engagement needed to make that process happen, which then opens you up to grants to actually do work. So it's your plan where you identify risks, you prioritize things, and then you use that to apply for CAL FIRE grants and other grants to actually do work. And work can mean everything from education to safety and emergency planning, equipment for, say, your fire district, to vegetation management and other kinds of things. But because, as Hannah was saying, this is such a huge area compared to the typical fire safe district area, that generous contribution from the county doesn't quite cover the amount of outreach that we would need, because we have so many more people, and because Spanish speaking populations are such a huge component of our specific area. So we've requested $10,000 to hire a bilingual part-time person to assist us with bilingual outreach, specifically Spanish language outreach. And that can be things like simultaneous translation during community meetings, which are really critical to get input on emergency planning, identifying problems that we might not know that we need to put into the community wildfire protection plan. And then, outreach and education in Spanish, translating things for social media on Spanish so we get engagement, and so on and so forth. So this is going to be quite a process. There's a lot of volunteer commitment to this. I'm a volunteer in this, Hannah's a volunteer in this. We have a whole bunch of volunteerism going on. And so far, I'm not a Spanish speaker, Hannah isn't. And we just really need a professional support to get this process really grounded in the community. So I don't know if I have to read this whole letter or what the process is. I kind of paraphrased the whole letter.
Could we get it on the screen maybe, Karina?
Yeah,
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Lucas, I can read through it for the,
Okay,
read it into record.
thank you.
Yeah, thank you. And I want to say thank you, Lucas, so much. And I really want to acknowledge the work of Ray Willette as well. He is the one who started this work, and Hannah, and you've driven it home. So thank you both so much. And Lucas, thank you. This is super exciting. I'm so excited by the work that you've done. So thank you all. So I'm going to read the letter. This letter is in support of the Springs Fire Council application for grant funding through your organization. We believe the funding will provide a valuable benefit to our community. The Springs Municipal Advisory Council represents the best interests of the entire community while acting as a bridge for communication between the County of Sonoma, local residents, and businesses on topics for the Springs area. Our organization represents the unincorporated area of Sonoma Valley between the communities of Agua Caliente to the north and the city of Sonoma to the south. The SVCAC is an emerging fire safe council focused on creating community wildlife protection plan, a CWPP, for the unincorporated parts of Sonoma County, referred to as the Springs: El Verano, Boys Hot Springs, Fetters Hot Springs, and Agua Caliente. Demographically, the area is about 40% Latino Hispanic, and many people in our community are more comfortable speaking Spanish or only speak Spanish. Thank you. SVCAC partnered with Fire Safe Sonoma, who received grant money to help draft their CWPP. They are also acting as their fiscal sponsor in any grants received. We ask your funding support for SVCAC with $10,000 to hire a bilingual part-time CWPP coordinator to assist for 1 year. It is critical that our entire community is a part of the fire safe process and can access and understand meetings and plans. For example, evacuation routes will be essential for a part of the plan, and we need to make sure our whole community is on board with the plan when it is go time. In addition, SVCAC will seek opportunities with Sonoma County Department of Emergency Management and the Listos California program, working to share information and advisement on ways to be prepared within the Sonoma Valley. Further, they will collaborate with the Springs Map Your Neighborhood program. This MAC gladly helped launch in early 2021. A CWPP makes us a more resilient community by identifying current risk factors, deciding how to abate those risks, and creating a plan for the community in case a fire does occur. The community engagement, education, outreach necessary to make this an inclusive and successful process is above and beyond the average CWPP. For comparison, the Grove Street FSC completed their CWPP in late 2020. Since then, they have reduced fuel along Grove Street, completed a practice evacuation, and installed a fire danger sign. The Grove Street FSC is composed of 366 parcels. The Springs FSC will involve over 3,600 parcels. The Springs Fire Safe Council seeks to do many of the same activities on a much larger scale with a community that is heavily Spanish speaking. We strongly support this proposal and urge you to select it for funding. CC'd Susan Gorin, Sonoma County 1st District Supervisor, Fire Safe Sonoma, Sonoma Fire, Valley Fire, Chief Acre, CAL FIRE. Are there any comments or changes to the letter? Iris?
I think it's a great letter overall and a great idea, and I really support it. I was confused when I read through it. The 4th paragraph seemed a little muddled to me, and I would suggest that we strike the first sentence and possibly replace it with, let's see if I can get the initials right. Fire Safe Sonoma County is a county-wide organization. Fire Safe Sonoma County, a county-wide organization, has received grant money to assist local fire safe councils in drafting their own CWPPs. End of sentence. And then SFSC is partnering with Fire Safe Sonoma, and they would act as fiscal sponsor for any grants received.
Hey, Karina, did you follow? Because I can't find where you're talking about. Can you start again? What paragraph are you in?
It's the 4th paragraph.
So SFSC partnered with Fire Safe Sonoma, that one? Okay.
Yeah.
What are you suggesting we strike?
I'm suggesting you strike that we strike the first sentence and basically keep the second one because I really was confused when I read it. Maybe that.
Okay, so take out, sorry, I can't highlight. So Karina, can you highlight the first sentence, SF up to SFSC to CWPP?
Sorry, that's a PDF, so I'm not able to edit it, but I can make a note, Iris, if you can repeat your sentence, I'm happy to take it down again.
I'll try. And just tell me if I go too fast. Fire Safe Sonoma County, Fire Safe Sonoma is a county-wide organization and has received grant money to assist local fire FSCs in drafting their own CWPP.
Great, thank you.
Okay, and then and then the second sentence is pretty good. Now, does that sound better? I mean, if it doesn't sound better.
No, it's great.
Okay, thank you.
I forgot to take public comment earlier on the letter writing, so I need to take. So is there more comment on this from the council? Mari Carmen.
I would just omit the last sentence of the letter where it talks about Spanish speaking community again. I think it's redundant because it's pretty much been stated in that, I think it was the 2nd paragraph where it had the stats. So I think that can be removed because it's already been pretty much clearly stated, and it's like just redundancy. And somewhere I would add just other local vulnerable communities, because we always just want to consider the entire community.
Thank you. Do you have a place for that, Karina?
Sorry, I took note to omit the last sentence of the letter.
And Maricano,
One thing is, I don't know, what about American Sign Language? Is there a space to put that? Because sometimes how can we, then have, you do want to have like an interpreter, but what about an interpreter for people that cannot, communicate verbally? So that's one thing that I learned from the fires, that they really, that was very helpful. That's it. Thank you.
And as to Mari Carmen's comment, certainly we could mention the older population.
Yeah, I was wondering, yeah, thank you. Can we add a line about other marginalized or vulnerable communities? I know that the thing is, this letter is asking specifically for a Spanish interpreter.
Yeah.
So we can't take it a bunch of different directions, but we could ask for those considerations in the future, because we're asking for a very specific thing here.
Yep.
Thank you for making that clear. It wasn't clear that that was the money request for it. Yeah. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you. I hear you guys. We have a lot of folks who need support. I think if we are successful here, we can start working on the other sectors of our community. Can we adopt this letter as with that change of that sentence, and then an addition of vulnerable communities, although we know that this is not we're not asking for that, just that they're made mention. Shall we take public comment?
Any members of the public who wish to make a comment on this item, please use the raise hand feature or dial *9 on your phone. Miembros de la comunidad que desean hacer un comentario en este artículo, por favor de utilizar la aplicación de levantar mano u oprimir estrella 9 en su teléfono. I don't see any raised hands.
Okay, seeing none. All righty. Do we have a motion to approve this letter for the endorsement of a bilingual support person for the Fire Safe Council?
I would move to approve the letter.
Iris, is there a second?
Second.
Jesus, all in favor? Okay, unanimous. All right, thank you, everybody. Great. Okay. Arielle, we are moving on to so this is the ongoing saga of the SVCAC chair and how that's all going to play out. So we've brought in Arielle to help us understand it. So maybe we'll get somewhere with it tonight. I've had some confusion around it, so I have not done a great job leading us through this. So we brought in an expert. So Arielle, can you help explain it to us what our choices are?
Sure. I was asked to actually talk about SVCAC in general, but I have a slide at the end that sort of sums up what I think your choices are, and Karina can supplement as needed. I know the PowerPoint in your packet was her original PowerPoint, but mine's a little different. Are you seeing a big screen that says that's the cover of the slide?
Yes.
Yes, we also see your notes.
Oh. Well, hold on then. That's my notes. That's not for you guys. 1 second. This one.
Yeah, and Karina, thank you. I know that Karina is going to help us understand and get through the next piece of this. So I appreciate that.
Okay, so many of you know me, but I will introduce myself anyway. My name is Arielle Kubu-Jones, and I am Supervisor Goran's District Director. In addition to that and many other things, I also facilitate the Sonoma Valley Citizens Advisory Commission, which is the SVCAC. Karina asked me to come here tonight and make a brief presentation about the history and role of the SVCAC in order to assist you all with your decision on the bylaws revision concerning the SVCAC seat on the Springs map. So this slide may be familiar to many of you, but I just want to go through it briefly. This is a slide I created that demonstrates how commissions and councils fit into the larger county landscape. So Supervisor Goran, as you know, is the first district supervisor. This group right here, I don't know if you can see my cursor, but right there, that represents all of the constituents in the first district, from the Springs to Shellville to Glen Ellen and Kenwood, East Santa Rosa, and the Mark West area. Almost 20 years ago, the SVCAC was formed specifically because the Sonoma Valley area, including the city of Sonoma, felt that there needed to be more local oversight of land use projects and sort of a step before the Planning Commission. They wanted to be able to sort of give some feedback before things show up at the Planning Commission. I will get into more detail about the specifics of SVCAC later, but suffice to say for now that SVCAC is an opportunity for Sonoma Valley residents to provide feedback to this commission, and the commission makes an advisory recommendation to the Planning Commission. You can see the arrow at the top connecting to the Board of Supervisors here. This happens when a Planning Commission decision is appealed either by the applicant or the opponents of a project. If there is an appeal, the Board of Supervisors makes a final decision on a project. So as you very well know, the first MAC formed in the first district was the Springs MAC. So I represented that with this little purple. That's the folks who live in the Springs, followed closely by the North Sonoma Valley MAC. And you can see these arrows, they're advisory to the supervisor, where SVCAC is advisory to the Planning Commission. And this is just sort of to demonstrate that every supervisor also has their little group of blue people. Some of them also have MACs. So that's just sort of the overall picture of things. So let's dive a little deeper into SVCAC. SVCAC was created by JPA, which is a joint powers authority between the city and the county in 1993. Then Supervisor Michael Kale and the city council at the time, as well as the community, felt that the valley needed to be able to weigh in more completely on development projects in the valley. SVCAC hears land use items both in unincorporated areas as well as in the city, though the city seldom refers things to SVCAC, but they could theoretically. I provide the staff for SVCAC, while the city of Sonoma provides hosting of the materials on their website, as well as the meeting location when we're in person. The whole time I've been in charge of SVCAC, we've been virtual, so that's sort of an unknown for me. And they are advisory. I already said that, but some of you have attended their meetings, but generally the way it goes is an applicant makes a presentation, the commissioners ask questions, and then public comments, and then the applicant and questions. The applicant might answer questions that came from the public. Then the applicant in the Zoom world is moved out of the deliberative space, and the commission deliberates and then comes up with a recommendation, usually of approval or denial or approval with certain conditions. The planning commissions and the Board of Zoning Adjustments, depending on where a project's going, takes the materials and the voice of the SVCAC and the folks that come to that meeting seriously when the project moves on to that step. I will add that when we created the MACs, the complexity and long-running nature of SVCAC is the main reason we did not give the MACs land use authority. SVCAC works well and has an established role, has existed for so long. I actually had to reach out to the registrar of voters to figure out who was the supervisor at the time that it was created, because those records are not online. Some MACs in D4 and D5, so the 4th district and the 5th district do have land use authority, but they are the first bodies to exist in those areas. And they need to, review land use before they go to planning commission. In our district, we have SVCAC, so we don't want to duplicate their efforts. So then let's talk about the makeup of SVCAC. So the commission does have a total of 19 seats, though some are vacant and have been vacant for some time. but there are 11 voting members. You can see the regions and the amount of seats on the slide, but for the county, we have El Verano West, Springs East, North Valley, South Valley, and one alternate who serves at large and can come from any of these regions. The city has 3 seats and 1 alternate seat. Our non-voting members are ex officio and an alternate ex officio, which for the county are the planning commissioners. So Supervisor Goran has 2 planning commissioners. They sit in those seats. For the city, they pick 2 folks from the city council to sit in those seats. And there's an emeritus seat that's supposed to be someone who is a former chair or member of SVCAC. The county has Mark Bramfitt in that role. He's a former chair of SVCAC and the head of LAFCO. The city has not ever filled that seat to my knowledge. And so this is, I know this is really hard to see and I have a second map, but this is the map of those regions. This is North Valley and the purple is the boundaries of the North Sonoma Valley map. This is Springs East and El Verano West. This is the boundaries of the Springs map right here. Then you have the city of Sonoma, and then South Valley is this huge area on the south. And then I have this one's a little easier to read, but it doesn't have the map boundaries. I basically put these in there so you can see kind of how huge it is. And this map's a little weird because they sort of turn north-south to be east-west, which is bizarre, but it does make it easier to see. So I know I have said that SVCAC hears land use projects, but what exactly does that mean? So often it's building projects or wineries or cannabis. You can see some recent examples here. The Amazon project, Victory Station, which if you did not read the paper today, it is officially dead. Amazon has pulled out and there will not be an Amazon last mile distribution warehouse. There was a Robledo winery expansion that came before them a few months back. There was an outdoor cannabis grow. They've heard a few of those. And they also heard the Siesta Affordable Housing Project that just broke ground last week. I just plucked out these examples from the last year or so. This is the types of things that they hear. They can also hear city or county ordinances that have land use applications, such as winery events. They actually had an ad hoc that drafted Sonoma Valley area of concentration guidelines for winery events. Currently, there's a countywide winery events policy working its way through the planning commission at some point. Also, they're gonna, make a recommendation on the SDC specific plan, EIR. And sometimes they do hear residential projects, usually when there's something particular about it. So for example, at their last meeting, they heard someone who wanted to build a tennis court on their property completely within the riparian corridor, which means within 100 feet from a stream or a creek or a river. So they heard that. On all of these projects, they make recommendations that follow the project as it goes through the process. So on its journey, it goes to SVCAC, they make a recommendation, then it goes to the Planning Commission or the BZA, depending on whether it's a zoning adjustment or a more use permit or something. And it may end up at the Board of Supervisors if somebody doesn't like the Planning Commission's decision. And then that's pretty much it for my super quick crash course on SVCAC. So as far as I understand, I'm here for questions about the commission, but Karina or your chair, I believe are here for questions about the decision, but as I understand it, you're deciding whether to eliminate the SVCAC seat from the bylaws of the Springs MAC or to keep it and allow SVCAC to appoint backup members who could attend if the primary appointee can't. I also think, and I think this is something that I mentioned to Karina, that it would be good to clarify in the bylaws assuming you keep the SVCAC seat, the residency requirements. It's just not specified in the bylaws, and you know, the Springs MAC boundaries are so small compared to the SVCAC boundaries. So if you want someone to live actually within the MAC boundaries, or if it would be sufficient to have someone, because there could be someone who represents Springs East but doesn't actually live in the Springs MAC boundaries. That's completely a policy call for you guys. I am not here to interfere in your decision one way or another or weight it, but I will also let you know that the SVCAC really values the work of both MACs, the Springs MAC and the North Sonoma Valley MAC, and the importance of having a sort of two-way relationship of being able to provide updates to you and hear updates at their meetings from the Springs MAC. And that they're pretty confident. I also don't boss them around, but they're pretty confident that if you choose to have I'm calling them backups instead of alternates, but if you choose to have backup members, they're pretty confident they can fulfill the commitment to attending the Springs MAC. So that's all I got.
Thank you so much, Arielle, for that explanation. That was super helpful. I attended their meeting and they were talking about the tennis court one, and I thought, oh, they do that too, because I was confused by that. So thank you for clarifying that. Okay, so we're going to open this for questions, comments from the MAC, and then we'll go to public comment. And then Karina, where do you want to explain the option? Do you want to explain the options more in depth, or do you want to have questions first?
I'm happy to go through it. Arielle really summarized your two options, which is to either keep the seat as is with one representative from SVCAC, or to allow them to have a secondary, two secondary basically members who are able to come to the meetings should the primary appointee not be available, or remove the seat.
Okay, thank you. I'll go with Hannah and then Iris.
Yeah, I was wondering if Arielle could tell us which locations have openings on the SVCAC, because I mean, I would be willing to be on the SVCAC if they would have me. I mean, I would be interested in that very much.
Sure. The only vacancies right now are, and they're 4-year terms for SVCAC. So there are 2 folks expiring in May, but it's the at-large seat and the one of the North Valley seats, and we are reappointing those folks. The vacancy is South Valley right now that we're interviewing for, and then the city of Sonoma. So the city of Sonoma only has 2 members, so they have 1 vacancy and their alternate is vacant. And also they don't have an emeritus, but I don't know that they will ever have an emeritus.
So then that kind of cuts down that kind of tells us our options. We need to have someone from there come to us.
Yes. Iris?
I'm confused. Would the person who is, as usual, I guess, at least tonight, who comes from the CAC, would they be a non-voting member of the MAC?
So the way I don't keep up on the ins and outs of the Springs MAC. I don't know, Iris, if you were here when Ryan Laley was here.
Yes.
Ryan Laley was the SVCAC representative on the Springs MAC. And since he left both bodies, he left them both at the same time he resigns. We thank him for his service. It has been a challenge to fill the seat on the Springs MAC. So the way the bylaws are written, the SVC member is a regular member of the Springs MAC. I was in the office when we were creating the MACs, like writing the bylaws and things like that. And the idea was, and maybe that wasn't super clear from my presentation, but it was, we're going to create these MACs. In the first district, we're not going to give them land use authority because it's duplicative, because we have this body that already exists that is complex because it's a joint powers authority with the city and has been established for 20 years. And you can't have two bodies doing that. So we thought the way to build that connection and allow the MACs to be able to hear anyone can go to SVCAC, anyone can read the agendas and the minutes, but to get you a little more of a front row seat and be able to sort of hear updates about it, we decided to create in the bylaws an SVCAC seat on the MACs to kind of build in that connection. And it is unfortunate that after Ryan Lely left, that seat hasn't been filled for this MAC. And this is sort of, I think, an attempt to try to rectify that on either way so that you can have, you know, fully staffed seats, or so that you can have an SVCAC presence on your body. And I do know that they can make it work if someone else is able to fill in when someone can't come. I believe. Yeah.
Okay,
Anna?
I just further. Okay, I get what was happening with Ryan. That's clear, but if they can't always have the same representative, would it make sense to make that seat alternate seat?
That's a policy call. If you want to make it a non-voting seat, or if you want to say that if the primary is not there and it's one of the backups, that it's only proper if they abstain from votes for ongoing issues. I mean, these are your bylaws. The SVCAC's bylaws don't say anything about the MACs because they've existed since 1993. So that's your policy call.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. That's an interesting idea, Iris. Hannah.
Would they be interested in making a position that was, you know, a liaison to us to eliminate this issue, or are they not interested in putting that in their bylaws? It just seems like
I don't think it's an issue of not being interested. I think it's an issue that it's a joint powers authority that has to go through the city of Sonoma and the county concurrently. And I think it's been reauthorized through 2024. So it gets reauthorized for like big chunks by an action of both bodies. So I don't think it's about them not being interested. I think it's just because a JPA is it's a much more cumbersome thing than a bylaws revision, even though that's already fairly cumbersome for our staff, but we are happy to do it to further refine bylaws. But this involves two bureaucratic governments.
Susan, did you have a comment? I thought I saw your hand.
Thank you. I'm trying to find the raise hand function and it's not quite working. This is, I think, unnecessarily complicated. And it boils down to the fact that both the Municipal Advisory Council and the CAC are volunteer organizations. And you spend, and they spend a lot of time reviewing materials, preparing, be out in the community. And when your meetings were back to back, it really became an issue for Joanne Brown. She could not attend 2 meetings back to back. So you changed your meeting. Thank you so much. And we still have the time commitment for very busy people. And so it's not that they don't want to be a part of the MAC, but they're just busy people and they don't have the time to give. Now, another option that maybe Arielle went over is you could have someone potentially from the CAC come and do a regular report to you and not be a member of the MAC, not be involved in any other discussions. But it really is just a community member coming in, as I do, dropping in and delivering a report once a month about what the CAC is discussing. And Arielle, you may have gone over that and I missed it. So that's another.
I didn't, but that would be eliminating the seat. So if you chose to eliminate the seat, you could essentially have a standing agenda item and invite them to come. And I think they would also want someone from this body to report out to them, because that was sort of the beauty of it, is that, you know, I sit on SVCAC, so I see there is currently a North Sonoma Valley MAC liaison, right? So he reports out, and I used to run the North Sonoma Valley MAC. So when I was on the North Sonoma Valley MAC running that one, he would give a report out from the SVCAC. And now that same person, I'm on SVCAC, and he gives just a really brief report out from the MAC about what they discussed. And that's sort of how it goes for that body. I never saw Ryan's reports on this one, but they're pretty quick, like sort of like what Maite just said, you know, what I just said last time at the SVCAC, they heard this tennis court project. They approved the Springs SDC letter. They endorsed your letter on SDC, and they also drafted their own notice of preparation SDC comments. And that would be the report out.
From my perspective, there are two issues. One is you really would like another member on the MAC to be a part of your group and to be part of the community. And two, you want to have an interchange of communication between the CAC and the MAC, especially regarding proposed developments. And so you could have a broad-ranging conversation about creating another seat not related to the CAC to be a part of the MAC. And you could have figure out how to provide that communication between the two bodies. It could be a written report. It could be a verbal report. And so there are possibilities that might be helpful. And I wish we did have someone on the CAC who would do exactly as Matt Dickey is doing, is providing both the local flavor on the MAC, as well as the flavor from the North Sonoma Valley MAC to the discussions of the CAC. Why he takes it so seriously now is his role really is revolving around the Sonoma Developmental Center. So there's just a lot of overlap for this, maybe not the overlap for the other things that you're doing.
So I'm wondering if this might be one of the possibilities. I believe there's some interest in having that seat be from the Springs, because they would know the Springs, they would have a vested interest in it. If they were a non-voting member, like the alternate position that Iris is suggesting, then perhaps they have their influence. They could be any one of those members of the SVCAC who comes and reports and brings back information. And then that way it could rotate through their ranks if they didn't have the influence within our committee. And
I think it, for the SVCAC, I mean, for bylaws, I think it should be defined, right? So Karina and I had a long conversation with county council about this, because they're in charge of the bylaws. So you can't just say anyone from the SVCAC comes. It should be like, say, you know, I'm not going to use real people's names. So like Jackie is the primary, and then like Joe and Jonathan are the backups. Like they should be defined and not just have anybody coming.
Then you mean you're defining them by geographical location, not by name, because those people may change.
Yes, correct.
So then they do have to be from the Springs.
Well, that's a policy call for you all. I don't think it's come up before, but it's an ambiguity in the bylaws that I feel it's an ambiguity, because it's an SVCAC member and there are two regions on SVCAC. I think it's about 5 people that fill them, that are the Springs, like one's El Verano and one's Springs East. So that's a policy call for you guys. Totally. If you would be okay having someone who lives slightly outside of your boundary, but within the Springs East zone, or if you really want them to live within your boundary. I don't know with the current membership of SVCC exactly where they live related to your boundaries. Perhaps they all do live within your boundaries, but as things turn over, it would just be nice to have it nailed down in the bylaws for the future.
Are there any other comments?
territory, if I may, and I apologize if my camera was off and on. I'm having tech issues. My mouse just escaping me today and my keyboard. I just want to say, and Supervisor Goran and Arielle can correct me if I'm wrong, but when interested parties apply for the SCAC and they go through the interview process, they are told during the interview that they could potentially become the liaison for the Springs Max and the CAC if they currently live in the Springs boundaries and the Springs Mac boundaries. So the current members, and I believe there are 3 eligible candidates at this point, or maybe 4, including the current chair. They were told at one point that they could potentially become the liaison. So I just want to make sure everyone is aware of that. And I know it's been conflicting schedules, the primary challenge to fill this seat. And during Ryan's time, when I first took over the MAC and we were in, COVID times and we were going virtually, I was unaware that that was the role of the CAC seat, to provide these updates. And it took a few months for me to understand that because I was new to this position. But then we did ask Ryan Laley to bring those updates to the MAC. And we were working with Permit Sonoma to get those updates as well whenever there was a project that didn't have an update, but the update was there is no update. Excuse me. And once he left, I continued to provide those updates until there was interest in other topics for the MAC and the community. And it was suggested 2 meetings ago to have CAC come and present if you so choose, and it wasn't really solidified. So if you don't decide on a vote today and you want updates, I'm happy to reach out to Arielle and have a member of the CAC provide an update, but it would be a nice courtesy for the Springs MAC to also provide an update at their meeting. And you would have to choose amongst yourselves who is available to attend that CAC meeting and give an update. And, it's just a 5-minute update. Thank you.
Well, I just want to correct one thing that Karina said. Not that she's wrong at all, but I think a lot of the folks, I'm trying to think of who's in the spring seats, but because the terms are so long, I don't know that the MAC existed when all of them interviewed for the position. So I don't know if they were all told that, because when people are interested in reappointing, you don't re-interview them. You know what I mean? So I know Tim Freeman, I think he's been on it. He's the current chair. I think he's been on it since before I worked for the supervisor. So since before the MAC existed. So I think moving forward, that's absolutely correct. And we're sort of in this weird transition time with that, right?
Well, let me just say, when we appoint someone to the CAC from the various areas that might be a part of the Springs MAC, I do not say there could be a possibility we would ask you to be a liaison for the Springs MAC. That is not part of the job description, really. It is really the job description of the someone can volunteer to be a part of the Springs MAC and provide that liaison role. So we have not previously had that discussion about, sometimes it's really challenging to get people to serve on the CAC or the MAC. And so I want to be respectful of their time. Here we have a conundrum.
Hannah, did you have a question?
I don't know. It just, I see what, it seems like there's a unilateral job description here. And that's always going to create problems. But I would just, again, I'll go there and observe. I'm very interested in what they're doing. And I think that land use is so extremely important, that we get a variety of opinion, of age, of income, just a variety of people learning about what's going on at SVCAC, I think will help us learn more at the MAC. So I would volunteer.
And Hannah, thank you so much. You are just this bright shining light of the MAC, willing to do so many things, and I really appreciate that. Also, please know that there are frequently vacancies on the CAC. People resign, they have lives, imagine that. And so they have to resign because of professional or personal commitments. And so there is a possibility that that if you want to fulfill that sort of informal role now, I absolutely would be willing to appoint you to the CAC, maybe even in the at-large position, so that you can have a more formal role in both bodies.
Thank you. That would be great.
I'm going to move to public comment.
Any members of the public who wish to make a comment, please use the raise hand feature or dial *9. Para los miembros de la comunidad que desean hacer un comentario, por favor de utilizar la aplicación de levantar mano o oprimir *9.
Okay, seeing
No
none.
raised hands.
So I don't know if we're at a place where we can come up with a motion at this point. I'm uncomfortable eliminating the seat. But we do need to find a solution that we can all work with. If Hannah, if you're willing to go, we are kind of kicking this can further down the road again. But the decision here is a complex one. If you're willing to go to the next meeting and report back to us, and perhaps they will allow you an opportunity to talk about the MAC during public comment. We can at least have that dialogue happen. My choice here would be to have a rotating member from the SVCAC who lives in the Springs come and report to us. That would be my choice of all of them if we were to have to select one. If there's an opportunity for Supervisor Goran to appoint Hannah, I don't know if that is. I don't remember what the seats availability is. If that's something that needs to be reviewed and then come back at a later time.
Right now, we are just appointing members to the CAC. I believe Karina and Arielle said we are appointing members to one of the areas that would be in the Springs. And I can ask this person if she wants to fill that role. It's Rebecca Hermosillo. And I believe we're so refresh me about the at-large. I think we have a term that is expiring, and we're outreaching to 2 individuals as to whether or not they want to continue.
Yes, so we had that discussion today, and I did reach out to both of them, and they both indicated that they would like to continue.
Great.
But yeah, we can certainly talk to Rebecca because she is in the Springs, and I believe she is within the boundaries, the Springs MAC boundaries. And I wanted to also make a suggestion. I know this has been contentious here, and that you want a full body sounds like it sounds like a wine or something, but that you want to be a fully staffed MAC. And that if you get enough, and that you're down other seats right now too. So if you get enough applicants where you would be able to fill that seat were it not SVCAC, you can always revisit this and eliminate the seat if there's someone that you really want on the MAC who just also isn't on SVCAC to get your full body and continue this more informal relationship. And Hannah, to let you know, there's a standing MAC update item, and it's the last item on the agenda. So sorry about that.
Well, maybe they could do us a favor and move that agenda item further up in the agenda.
And that's just what I was going to say.
I mean, we're trying really hard here.
Yes,
So
I agree.
maybe they could move that up a little bit. So I think we'll continue. Hannah, if you're willing, let's try this out.
What day of the week is it?
I don't know.
Okay.
Oh, it's Wednesday, 4th Wednesday.
That works for me.
So let's try this informal, and we're making a formal request to ask them to move the MAC update further up in their agenda.
Well, good. Karina's actually doing their next agenda, so she will make a note of that because I'm going on vacation.
All right. Thank you, Karina. Thank you, Arielle. Thank you, Supervisor Goran. Okay, so we're going to continue to kick this can down the road. Hannah, maybe you can let us know what it's like to attend the meeting and what the reality of that is. Okay. All right. Let's do ad hoc updates, and then we're going to take a quick break because we do want to finish the agenda out here. We have folks waiting to present. So
Terry, if I may, can we just check in with our interpreter and make sure he can go on? We have been going on for an hour and a half. I just want to be respectful of his time. So Jordy.
Take the break now, Jordy.
Water break? We need a break? Okay.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So we'll take a 9-minute break. We'll come back at 8:10. Thank you all.
Thank you for having me.
Yes. Thank you, Arielle, very much. Hi, everybody. Hi, everybody. So we have our quick ad hoc updates. We got a little bit on fire safe and emergency preparedness, but Hannah or Iris, would you like to add to that?
Not really. Let's see. We're trying to have this is for fire ad hoc.
Yes, fire.
Okay, so we're trying to plan an in-person meeting. It's not confirmed, but May 21st, which is a Saturday, is a tentative date for our first community meeting. It will be from 10 a.m. to 12 p.m. We're hoping to have it at the new El Verano multipurpose building. I just put in the request to use the room. Fire Safe Sonoma would be hosting it, and they would be explaining everything about the community protection plan. And we'd be really seeking input from the community. And it's a huge goal for us to get the whole community there. So we will have live translation to Spanish. There'll be some food. But really, I'd love to think about how we can ensure our whole community can attend, because it's very important to learn from everyone about any dangers in the community that we might not know about. So really, that's what's going on with us. Again, that's May 21st. And I'll be doing a lot of advertising for that once the date is confirmed.
Thank you. Community outreach.
So far, for the community outreach, the change of our meetings presents to me as an opportunity to update the flyer and repost it in all of the places that we posted, and do all of the things that we did with the flyer, like going to the church at San Leo and talking to the people. That will be an opportunity to do more outreach. And I was thinking that I really like the idea of talking to people like in person, but obviously not possible right now. So I want to rely on social media, but I'm not a very popular person. So I want to rely on you to distribute the flyer, and I want to also make the flyer a little bit clearer, because the Zoom link, it's a little lengthy, and I think that people just don't want to, they just want a number or a link, easy for them to access the meetings. And yeah, so I will be asking for your help to distribute the updated flyer. Thank you.
Thank you, Jesus. Appreciate it. I think we have Dana. Mari Carmen, did you have more to say? Sorry.
I just wanted to follow up with Hannah and Jesus if they still were going to go to the Dia del Niño event.
Yes,
on the
we're
30th.
planning. Yes, I signed up on the Google sign up sheet. Yes, thank you.
Okay, thank you.
That was one of my questions. Thank you, Mari Carmen, for community outreach. Did we sign up to have a table for the MAC, or are we going to
Yes.
be present?
Well, I signed up for Jesus and myself. Yes, but
For the MAC and
yes.
Okay. I think I'll be there with Food for All as well. So I'll have MAC on one side and Food for All on the other. something like that. Okay, Dana, do you want to do something for Map Your Neighborhood?
Chair Tori, just real quick on attending events, since it's finally coming to that, other than when we did the Neighbor Fest. So just to be mindful of Brown Act, you all can attend an event as long as you're not talking about any MAC topics or subjects, because you guys are bound to the Brown Act. So just make sure all you're doing is outreach, but not discussing any issue or any matter. And just invite folks to attend your upcoming meetings and enjoy
Yes.
the event, because it's going to be a great one.
Thank
I
you
will
for,
promote Dana now to give an update. I believe she had a
thank you
raised
for the
hand.
reminder.
Thanks, Karina. Yeah, Iris asked me to make the ad hoc update for the emergency preparedness super quick. We did inventory the Connex container at Altamira last week. Iris and I did that. So we've got a spreadsheet. We've created a list of wants/needs to kind of buffer that supply. And then I also just wanted to highlight again the emergency alert because that will be that's practiced in our area. And it'll be zone SON 6E2, SON 6F2, SON 6A5, and SON 6E1. So that's a pretty large area. It goes up into Glen Ellen. So just a reminder to hop on SoCo Emergency, the website there, and register your phone number so that you can get the alert message. And it's really the goal. One of the goals is to get feedback on how it's delivered, what is said, and also the Spanish translation. They're really looking for feedback on that. So we're looking to get as many folks signed up as possible before then.
Thank you, Dana. Hannah?
So Dana, the practice alert will only go to people who sign up?
Yes.
Okay, that's good to know. Thank you.
It's kind of confusing. We learned a lot from Sam Wallace with Department of Emergency Management. They get numbers from various sources, but the key is really the SoCo alert. So we're really just trying to encourage, because what databases Sam can pull from are a lot of times home phone numbers, and that's not going to be effective all of the time. So the beauty of SoCo alert is you can register a mobile phone. It doesn't have to be a landline, so you can still get those alert messages that would previously be just directed toward a home phone line, a landline.
Thank you. I was just looking at it online and it's going to take a little bit of hunting. Iris?
As I understand it, we are supposed to be receiving posters to distribute. We're trying for definitely enough for food for all baggings and other food distributions to reach communities that might not be reached otherwise. And there will be ones to give out. So
That's great. Thank you for that.
There's a meeting tomorrow. We'll be finalizing all of that and asking for all of those copies from the county. So I believe Karina will be our liaison for that. So we'll be able to pick up printed materials there and then print out the PDFs as needed to distribute for outreach. Great.
Well, you can count on Food for All to help distribute, and we'll use our Facebook page as well. Karina?
Chair, if I may, I'm going to take this opportunity since we're on the topic of ad hocs, and I should have probably sent this document ahead of time, and I apologize if I didn't. It's really brief, it's self-explanatory, but just wanted to give the council an update on where you are with your ad hocs. As a reminder, your ad hocs can only exist for a year. After a year, they naturally dissolve. You can continue to do some of the community work through a nonprofit organization that you may have partnered with, or community members that you recruited and have taken over. This is why we continue to have updates from Dana Bravo for the Map Your Neighborhood She's giving an update today as a courtesy, but she's no longer responsible to give the update through the Map Your Neighborhood ad hoc that was created a year ago in February and since has dissolved. So in my time, these are the ad hocs that this Springs MAC has worked with in the community, and the two existing ones are Arts in the Springs and Community Outreach. So just wanted to make a quick mention of that. If there's any questions, please reach out to me, and I will share this with Lynn Marie and will be available for public access. Thank you.
Great, thank you. So Arts in the Springs, we met with, I can't think of his name right now, Brian. And we are looking to possibly put in bike racks that we can then add some kind of art projects to those bike racks along Highway 12, perhaps at the bus stops. We don't know the details yet. They're going to let us know what's actually possible. So that is one project that we're pursuing.
And Maite, his name is Brian Albee. He's the director of Sonoma County Transit, has been so responsive
awesome.
to the needs. And he said, "Oh, yeah, we have funding for that." Or, "Where do you want a bench? I'll put a bench out there." So anything that you want to work on and suggest, I think he is absolutely supportive of that.
Yes, thank you for that. He was wonderful. So he's going to get back to us after they're going to do an assessment of the area and see what we're talking about. So that is, there's a little movement there.
And Maite, let me just say it's a personal quirk of mine as I travel around. I take photos of very interesting bike racks. So I'll see if I can send you a couple of photos. I don't know whether he can actually get them, but I just think they're the coolest things ever.
That would be awesome, because I'm trying to picture how it's all going to come together. So that would be great if you could do that. I would appreciate that. I take pictures of quirky things too, to see if we can possibly do it. So yes. All right. So that's our ad hoc update. Let's move on. Yes, Hannah.
Is this what I should share, the compost day giveaway?
Is that a future event though?
No, that was part of the outreach ad hocs.
Oh, I'm sorry. I did not realize that.
Yeah,
Thank
sorry.
you.
I should have said something.
Would you like for me to share screen, Hannah? Or
I would love that. Thank you,
Okay.
Karina. So we had our compost and plant start giveaway at Larson Park. It was on March 20th. And it was a tremendous success. We gave over 20, or well, I guess 20 cubic yards of compost was given away. And I was super worried that we would have too much, because I said I'd be responsible for any leftovers, and we ran out. So it was an overwhelming success. The quality of the compost is very high. The compost came from Zero Waste Sonoma, and it is from our green bins. So everything you compost from your yard, from your house, everything you put in there, they've composted and then screened. So it's incredible. It's really good quality compost. People were taking truck beds or just as small as like little bags. And it was cool to see all the different people who came out. Some people said they hadn't been to Larson Park in like 20 years. So I think it was also great to get eyes on the park. I ran into people I knew, met people I didn't know, and Seth gave over 1,500 plant starts out. So these were vegetables, herbs, flowers, and people loved getting the free plant starts. Who wouldn't? And there's a great garden park that Seth and the Springs Hall is working to make nicer. So I invite everyone to come out and see it if you haven't. And it was such a success. Just a big thank you to everyone. Karina suggested this event, and Zero Waste Sonoma, Springs Hall, Sonoma Ecology Center, Sonoma Springs Rotary, which is a new Rotary in town, and the Springs MAC all work together to make this an incredible event. And we're doing another one. So Saturday, April 16th, 10 to 2 p.m., we're going to do compost again and also a creek cleanup. So please come out and we'll have fun again at Larson Park. Thank you.
Thank you. That's awesome. Thanks, Karina and Hannah. Great work. Thank you so much. That's exciting. Okay. All right. I think we'll move on to Permit Sonoma, and we have Ross Markey here to give us an update on SDC and the Springs specific plan. Thank you, Ross.
Thank you. Can you hear me?
We can.
All right, great. I also have a like a brief slideshow too that if I could share my screen, I can put up for you. And if not, that's okay. I can just.
You should just give me a second, Ross. Let me promote you as panelist so you can have. Can you try to share real quick?
Yeah, I don't have the option. Here we go.
Is it working on your end now?
Yes, I think I can get
Perfect.
this going. So there we go. Okay. Well, thank you very much for having me. Thank you to the chair and Springs MAC, Supervisor Goran, residents of the Springs, and other members of the public. So I'm Ross Markey. I'm a supervising planner with Permit Sonoma. And here's what I look like. Sorry about that. I'm here to talk to you about just a brief update on the SDC, so the Sonoma Developmental Center. And I'm also going to give you an update on the Springs specific plan. Brian O is our comprehensive planning manager and the planner on the SDC plan. And Doug Bush is the planner assigned to the Springs plan update. Both Brian and Doug both have newborns at home and weren't able to make it tonight. So I apologize on their behalf, but hopefully I can do an okay job here. So let's start with the SDC. So EIR, so the Environmental Impact Report scoping period closed on March 25th. So we did receive public comment on the EIR and are reviewing that comment. So the NOP, or Notice of Preparation, is linked in my presentation if anyone would like access to it, and I will provide this slide deck to Karina tonight when we're finished. So as I was saying, we did receive a number of comments reiterating the impacts on the NOP that were identified and areas of analysis, many of which were comments that have been consistently raised throughout the process. We continue to work on policy development and developing the specific plan. We will have 2 virtual workshops coming soon to receive additional public input on our specific plan policies that we are currently working on developing. We have completed 2 Spanish language focus groups in partnership with La Luz and St. Leo's and Father Jojo at St. Leo's. Those workshops were, the purpose of those workshops is to receive input on our specific plan policies. We plan on 2 additional outreach meetings, 1 Spanish language focus group and 1 additional meeting that we're still working on scheduling. And so those meetings should be held in the next few weeks. The Miro board, which I've also provided a link here to, is an interactive tool to receive feedback on the specific plan project. That link is open, I believe, until midnight tonight. So I'll try to get this to Karina as soon as possible and share that link. And maybe I can, I think the chat is disabled, but maybe we can make sure that link gets out as soon as possible for anyone who hasn't been able to take advantage of that Miro process yet. So that is the update on the SDC And we'll move on to Springs. So the Springs specific plan, Permit Sonoma published a draft EIR tentatively in April 22. So that's our current plan, is to get that draft EIR out this month. And that is to complement the draft specific plan that we published in 2018. The draft EIR will have a 60-day public comment period. And actually, I just go back to the SDC really quick. So when we get to that point in the process with SDC where we've developed the EIR, we will create a public draft, and we will have a similar comment period to receive public comment on the draft EIR once it's ready for SDC. So very similar to Spring specific plan to this process. So following the 60-day comment period for the Springs plan, we will have also Planning Commission public hearing to receive comments on the draft EIR, tentatively scheduled for May 2022. So that'll happen during that 60-day comment period or very soon thereafter. Prior to the release, staff will be informing stakeholders of the EIR and specific plans. So we do plan on communicating this out through our Gov delivery, through our project stakeholders, and through our website. So we'll try to get this information out as soon as possible and get it sent far and wide. We do have a youth-focused walking tour of the Springs area with Teen Services scheduled for the week of April 18th. And we do plan to provide advance notice to the plan's community advisory team and existing stakeholders such as the Springs MAC as new information becomes available. So the slide deck here also includes contact information for Brian O for the SDC plan and also for Doug Bush for the Spring specific plan. I also have a link here to our Permit Sonoma long range plans page, which also includes information about our upcoming general plan update, our current housing element update process, local coastal plan, and many other of our current initiatives. So like I said, I'll try to get this slide deck out as soon as possible. So while I'm not the project planner on either project, I can try and answer some questions kind of generally if you have them, but I do request that any specific questions that you have, please send to Brian or Doug, and we'll try to respond to you as soon as possible. And that concludes my presentation. And so yeah, I'm happy to answer a couple of quick questions if I can.
Great, thank you, Ross, so much. I know these are two topics that are very interesting, very much of interest to the council. And we'll start with council and then we'll move to public comment. Hannah?
I apologize if this is too specific, but I was just wondering if the new plan takes into account, anything that the Matsons are doing along Highway 12.
I missed that. Along Highway 12?
Does the Springs specific plan take into account any activity of the Matsons along Highway 12? I know there's been talk of them doing a plaza in the Springs Plaza area, and I'm just wondering if these proposed projects are incorporated, since they are kind of very large in our context projects, and I'm just wondering if that's been integrated with the plan, or how it has been, if it has.
And Hannah, this is Susan. Thanks, Ross, for being here tonight. Really appreciate that. The specific plan really is a plan, as Ross might describe, a plan of zoning. And so there's this kind of zoning for residential, this high, what kind of density, this is commercial. potential parks. And I think that area might be noted as a community plaza for that particular area, but it's not specific about this developer is working on this project right here and this project right here. It's not project specific. And maybe Ross, the planner, could help flesh that out a little bit. What is included in the specific plan, Ross?
Yeah, so the specific plan does include zoning and land use designations like the supervisor was describing. We also will have policies for different things. So for infrastructure, for supporting different types of projects, for different types of circulation and transportation initiatives. There may be just in general, like with a specific plan or a general plan, there may be some policies related to funding of community projects like parks. With those projects that you described, I am not aware of any policies that are related to those projects.
And also, please note that, boy, this has been a long time coming. When I was elected as supervisor, I knew that there was planning grant funding from the ABAG to really focus on planning activities for an area that had been designated as a rural investment area. And I think it's been since renamed. It took us a while to get the funding, but we were able to get the funding. And then we had fires and power shutdowns and COVID and some challenges working with some of the neighborhoods. So this was put on the back burner. And so now it's moving forward. I said, can we ever see this, please? I'd really like to complete this. But the specific plan for the airport also is on the same timeline. And it's much broader. The spring specific plan started with the former redevelopment area, which was really a narrow strip along the corridor from Verano Avenue to Agua Caliente. And it's just a block on either side of Highway 12 with the infamous dogleg going up to the Donald Street neighborhood. So we started with redevelopment. We've expanded it a little bit to create housing opportunities. The airport, you might pay attention to, is massive. It's really large, surrounding the SMART station, and includes a lot of housing, which is unusual, as well as commercial activities. So the two are sort of been tracking each other, but the airport is very different than the spring specific plan. Ross, are you working on the airport plan as well?
I am working on the airport plan with Katrina Bramer, who is the project planner, and Claudette Diaz, who is actually taking over for Katrina. So the airport plan, I believe, will follow the Springs plan. I think the Springs plan is on track to be ahead of airport, but yeah, they are on a similar path.
Thanks, Ross.
Thank you both very much. Hannah?
Do you know if SB 10, if any areas in the spring specific plan have been indicated as SB 10 designated areas, or is that something that the county thought about after that was passed?
I think the zoning along Highway 12, kind of along the core corridor of the Springs, is mostly proposed to be mixed use and higher density. So I think it would kind of get at the goals of SB 10. So it's the higher density housing. So yeah, I think the plan was a little ahead of the goals of SB 10. So I think you'll see a similar result.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Any other questions or comments from the council? We'll go to public comment.
Any members of the public who wish to make a comment, please use the raise hand feature or dial *9. Para los miembros de la comunidad que deseen hacer un comentario, por favor de oprimir estrella 9 o usar la aplicación de levantar mano. I don't see any raised hands.
Thank you, Karina. Any final comments from council? Okay, thank you. Thank you, Ross, for being here. We really appreciate it.
Thanks for having me. Appreciate it.
Take care. I needed to take public comment on the skateboard item, skate park item. Is there any public comment on the skate park or comments from the council? Not that we know what we would be commenting on, but okay, we'll wait to hear from them again the next time. Hopefully they'll be able to make it.
I don't see any raised hands, Chair Terry.
Okay. So we have been I'm on to item 12. We have been talking about having a town hall meeting, and I'm wondering what the interest of the council is. Some possible topics include traffic, safety, arts, human services. We've had a mental health forum that happened on March 5th. It sounds like we're going to have the May 21st fire preparedness kind of event happening at my alma mater. And then we had this town hall idea. It's possible that maybe we wait and have it later on in the summer because there's quite a bit happening right now. I mean, it's, just open for discussion. I'm sorry, I'm having a terrible hay fever attack.
Oh no.
And I'm my apologies. Iris?
I guess I'm wondering if we have any individual visions of how it might work. I'm familiar with the breaking up into individual groups with a scribe and somebody to lead, and that might be a good thing to do, because we could address a number of issues at the same time and attract more people. I don't know, but if we did that, it might also be a good thing to allow people the opportunity to switch groups, or to convene different groups halfway through or something, so that people can express their interests. And I think that, as far as I'm concerned, that's what I want to hear from people in the community. Outside is a great place to do it, as long as it's not too darn hot.
Yeah, I mean, my vision for it is what I've done for years in this community is similar to what we've done at El Verano in the past, is kind of very open-ended and concerns, that kind of stuff. So that's kind of what I had envisioned, but I'm totally open to other ideas and what people are thinking.
Yeah, it's that I guess what I really want is something where people are really free to say what, it feels really open, and it's not a meeting where we're all sitting in chairs looking at each other and whoever's at the front of the room, which kind of stifles conversation, I think.
Yes, I agree.
Ideally, it would be great to have a place where there was supervision for kids to play too.
Childcare.
We probably also want a way for people to send in their comments possibly ahead of time, because not everyone can attend a meeting, and not everyone, as the time goes on, still not everyone will be comfortable meeting in public.
Yeah, Marty Cotterman did a great job after the mental health forum and sent out a survey to people who weren't able to attend or who had additional comments. I think that's a really good idea.
Thank you. There, that's it.
I
Yeah.
want, yeah, I just want this to be something where we can find out how we can be more useful to the community. I mean, there's more panelists than attendees right now. And I really hope we can figure out what we need to deliver, like people need to feel like we are doing something or able to do something for them so that they show up to these meetings.
Agree.
And I don't expect everyone to show up to a Wednesday night meeting and listen to us talk about the intricacies of the SVCAC liaison position. But I would like people to know who we are and to know what, and maybe we need to do some introspection here. What can we do for them? So I love the idea of having, I want it to be like a party, like an outdoor party with food. Childcare would be incredible. If people could feel like, yeah, I can drop my kid off for 20 minutes and think about what I want to think about, that would really help increase attendance and focus. But I think we need to think about what we can give people, and maybe what we can give them is just a fun day at the park with some food and some childcare. That's pretty cool. But we need to think about what we can provide to people. So that's where I'm thinking.
So I have a suggestion. I think we need an ad hoc to put together the event, because it's too hard to do it in this setting. And I'm happy to be on that ad hoc because this is what I love doing. So if there's somebody or one or two of you who are willing to help me out, I think that would be amazing. And I also still want to keep this agenda item as community voice as an opportunity for, if we're hearing things, to bring those things forward for public to still do that. But I think as far as trying to plan this event, I think it needs to be done offline. I motion that we form a ad hoc to plan a town hall meeting. And I'm willing to volunteer. And if there's anyone else who might be willing to help me out.
I second the motion.
Okay, Iris seconds. Are you, Madi, what are you doing? You're seconding or volunteering?
Oh, no, I want to volunteer to be on the ad hoc.
Okay.
Well, but first we need to do the motion, correct?
Okay. So I motion, Iris seconds. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, so I have Maite and Mari Carmen. Is there somebody else who wants to help?
I'd love to help.
All right, Hannah. All right, we will set up a meeting. Okay. Thank you all. Is there anyone, are there anything that items that you've heard in the community that you would like to bring forward at this point in this section on community voice? And then we'll go to public comment. I think one of the things that came up in the public, what we heard earlier, is we need some clarification on COVID testing and vaccines yet again. So I think we should probably bring that forward. I know we also have future items on here, but I think that would be something that we probably need to bring. I think Supervisor Goran recommended somebody from the county. Maybe we can get somebody from the health clinic too to come and talk about those two items. Hannah, did you have something else you wanted to add?
Yeah, I've seen people a couple times talking about the Springs Farmers Market. We had that many years ago. I emailed them asking about it because I had like a fever dream that they were bringing it back, but they said they can't find someone to run it. It's a paid position, but I guess anyway. So that's just something that I think is something we're missing that I'd love for us to have again.
It's a paid position and they can't find anybody to run it. Is that what I just heard?
Maite, it might be topical and of interest for Mari Carmen, Karina, Leslie, and the risk folks to present what they view, excuse me, as the mental health collaborative. How would that work in the Springs? What is that all about? It may get funded, it may not, but if it can't get funded with the ARPA funds. And I just read that Oscar sent out a notice that the deadline for the ARPA fund requests has been extended, and I don't know to when, but we have some more time to develop grant proposals going forward. But I think it would be good for this group, this collaborative. It's one of the first times that we've had a collaborative coming together, especially around mental health. It'd be good for them to do a presentation. What does that look like?
Well, it was extended to Monday, the 11th. But I want to clarify that the one who's leading the collaborative is Hannah with Dr. Smith. Mhm.
Okay.
Yeah, and what Risk did was separate. We collaborated with Hannah.
A lot of Leslie's and Hannah's.
Yeah, I think to your point, Supervisor Goran, I think that would be a great idea. I think after they get some opportunity to kind of structure themselves, maybe we could get Leslie Peterson from Hannah to come and talk to us about, because I'm in the email chain as well, and I've been watching them go by and all the work that's happening, and it's very exciting. I read through the proposal today, so I think it would be great for them to come. Maybe we can ask them what a good time for them would be to come and share what their thinking is.
Well, lucky you, I keep asking for a draft of the proposal and they say, no, it's not ready yet.
Well, I think it is in draft form. So they probably want to give you something a little more, ready to go.
But I'm excited about it. It's really a great step forward.
I agree. Absolutely. Go ahead, Iris. I'm sorry.
Public transportation just seems like a big issue and very pertinent considering all that we're hearing about climate change.
And that would be Brian Albee, who would be speaking from Sonoma County Transit to talk about transit services and the combined, and he could speak to some of the efforts of SCTA regarding coordination of transit. And so I'd be glad to do a little filling in, but Brian is the best person to ask for that. And unless you want an update on all of the plans swirling around about bicycle lanes and multi-use paths. And we could do that too, but not all in one meeting.
Yeah, we need to break it up a little bit. We have really pretty much exhausted the list of ideas that we had in the past. We've run through that list. So so I'm hearing public transportation, mental health, COVID update, and farmers market, perhaps.
What about water conservation or water? And I know that the Ecology Center is doing a project of testing water. So maybe they can be speakers present.
Great. Okay.
And Sonoma Water, the water wholesaler, could really speak to water conservation, but our retail contractors are the city of Sonoma and the Valley of the Moon Water District. So you could have a multi-focus, and then you could talk about groundwater. And I chair the Groundwater Sustainability Agency, and we're having some public meetings about fees that may not be levied on some of the urban users, but it's very controversial for the rural residential folks.
Thank you. Hannah, was your hand up?
Yes, it was. And I think my mind went blank. Forget about it.
It's okay. We'll come back to you. Jesus.
I would like to that we can bring somebody from like in charge of that oversees the economic growth in the spring. For example, Sonoma Chamber of Commerce, or I don't know, a group of people that like somebody from Portraits of Sonoma to come back again. Since we are in the wine country, we should maybe consider bringing like an organization that is about that they are in charge of wines and the work they provide and stuff like that, and take what they are doing for the springs. that.
Thank you. So we've kind of taken two agenda items and rolled it into one, which is good. Are there other suggestions? Because I'm going to go to public comment.
I'm
Go
sorry.
ahead, Iris.
I'd like to second Jesus's idea, and that's a topic that keeps flitting in and out of my head, is economic opportunities in the Springs, for employment and for small businesses. I think small businesses would be really appropriate. And how can we foster that? How can we encourage that?
Thank you. Karina, I'm doing a reasonable job taking notes. Not a great one. I'm figuring you're adding those to our running list. Thank you. I would like to go to public comment and see if there's anything for community voice or future agenda items from the community, from our audience.
I don't see any raised hands. Here we go, Dana.
Dana, what can we do for you?
Hi, I'm back. So Mari Carmen alluded to this, but I have recently taken on another project from the Ecology Center with the water testing. So right now I have 17 home tests that I'm looking to connect with, folks that would like to, that are curious about what their water is like. These will be sent to a lab to be processed for 37 different compounds. So I have 17 of those tests, and I also need to test 3 well users. And these are all kind of west of Sonoma, city of Sonoma, up to Agua Caliente, and kind of Diamond A looks like the western border on my map. So if anybody would like to know the quality of their water, it's in part to gain confidence in our tap water, because we do have pretty good tap water. And also to know, just to kind of root out if there are any issues to kind of begin that process.
Thanks, Dana. I'm happy to do one.
Awesome. Send me, we'll coordinate, because I've got a survey that you need to complete. And then there's a couple of things we've got to cross T's on and dot I's, but it's pretty quick and easy. So
great.
Let's do
Happy to do it.
You can email me at mapyourneighborhood@sonomaecologycenter.org, or my phone number is 707-200-8134.
Oh, I don't have that one. Can I just?
Yeah, you can use the other one. That's fine.
Can I just call you on the one I have?
Yes, the other one, that was the public one. So you have the other one.
Thank you. All right. Thank you, Dana, for mentioning that. I appreciate it. Okay, so we have some great topics. Is there anything else that the council would like to add? And maybe the next upcoming event where we're going to have MAC members, I think, is your compost giveaway. Maybe that's an opportunity to talk to folks and say, are there things that are of interest to you that you'd like the MAC to take on? Dia del Nino will be another opportunity for us to do some outreach and hear from people as well. And then we'll start to plan this town hall event. Okay, so unless there is other future items for consideration, Karina, you and I have some work we need to do. I will call for, thank you all again. Thank you to our audience. Thank you to the council members. You guys are always just, you're hardworking and committed, and I really appreciate that. Karina, did you raise your hand?
I did. Just before you ask for a motion to adjourn, just if we could do a moment of silence as requested by Mari.
Thank you for remembering that. Okay. Mari, would you like to lead us in the moment of silence?
Thank you, Maite. Actually, if I would prefer if you could do it, is that okay?
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, absolutely. So the MAC would like to honor the lives lost to suicide in our county and in our country. And we know that we are in the midst of a mental health crisis, and there are many people who are hurting. So we'd like to honor them with a moment of silence. Thank you all. Okay, thank you, Maria Carmen.
Motion to adjourn.
Second, Hannah.
Oh,
Iris first, Hannah second, all in favor?
aye.
Thank you all, Supervisor Gorin. Thank you, Lynn Marie. Thank you, Jordy. Thank you, Karina. Thanks to the council and thank you to our audience. We appreciate you. Have a lovely evening.